Will Goldstein here, thekingscourt.com. Again, opportunity to subscribe down there in that corner if you like the videos. And again, I'm a musician, so there's lots of songbooks, Christian songs, 1,300 I think, or somewhere around there, out there right now in songbooks. They're free. You can download them at thekingscourt.com. I've got almost finished with my 9th album. That'll be out, I don't know, within a month or something like that. And I'm on all the platforms with, so it doesn't matter, Pandora, Spotify, just about anywhere you can find under the King's Court. Like I said, there's lots of links on my website as well. Anyway, so we're continuing with this series here, Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I know it's backwards. Can't do anything about that. But this is in book 3, and it's the second video in that, and it's called The Cardinal Virtues. So he starts off by saying, as mentioned in the previous videos, he divided morality into 3 parts. And there's another way that you can attack this subject, and writers throughout the centuries have divided it in different ways, and one of these ways is the virtues. And there's categories in the virtues. There's 7 virtues, and 4 of them are called cardinal virtues, and the other 3 remaining are called theological virtues. The cardinal virtues are basically for all people, all civilized people. For example, ancient Greece or something like that. The theological virtues are really for Christians. The word cardinals comes from a Latin word, and it means the hinge of a door. So a good way to think about cardinal virtues is that they are really pivotal in nature. So, and they are prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. In other words, what it means by pivotal, they're leading towards, they're for all civilized people, whether you even believe in God or not. And they're kind of like a first step or a stepping stone, maybe if somebody becomes a Christian, and then they can deal with the theological virtues, and it sort of is like a preparation, like a grammar school, going to high school or college or something. So anyway, so then he starts off with prudence, and basically prudence just means practical common sense. So he goes on to say that Christ told us not only to be harmless as doves, but also to be wise as serpents. I think the idea he wants to get across there is prudence and wisdom. For example, Proverbs would be a place in the Bible where you would get a lot of Proverbs, wise sayings, because it's all about prudence. Basically, Christ wants a child's heart with a grown-up head. He wants us to be simple, single-minded, affectionate, and teachable, but at the same time, he wants us to be intelligent and alert in what we're doing on the job, regardless of what that is. So, God wants everyone to use common sense, to be good, and this involves also being clever as you can, smart about things in the way that you're dealing with difficult problems that may come up in your life. Can you solve those problems? Do you have any wisdom to figure out what the answer is to that problem? And anyone trying to be a Christian finds his intelligence is sharpened by being a Christian. So then he goes on to say that Christianity is an education in itself. So then he goes on to the next one, which is temperance. And it had a different meaning in the old school, and maybe teetotaler. This had to do with drinking too much or something. But that's not really the meaning that he's saying that temperance really means from a biblical point of view. Not that that isn't part of it, it is, but it's only part of it. Temperance really refers to all pleasures, and it's not meant to necessarily abstain from drinking, for example, but to go the right length and no further. In other words, Christ had drank wine with his disciples and his friends, but they didn't have rowdy parties where they all just got drunk and wasted. Okay. So, going the right distance. So, it may be the duty of a particular Christian at a particular time in someone's life to hold back on something because, for example, he decides not to drink because he has problems with it and he tends to drink too much. So the best thing for him to do is just stay away from alcohol. Or because perhaps he's with someone else who's inclined to drunkenness, and if he starts drinking with them, maybe he can stop, but they can't, and so he doesn't want to be a bad influence on them. He doesn't want to encourage them. So the whole point is really not abstaining from whatever you're doing that might be right for somebody and wrong for someone else, but it's all about going the right distance, and you have to have and there should be a good reason for what you're doing, and it's particular to you, not necessarily to everyone. So a Christian may give up all sorts of things for special reasons. Marriage, for example, or meat. I tend to be mostly a vegetarian. Beer, or the cinema, or whatever. But the moment that person starts looking down at other people, then he is taking the wrong turn. So you can be just as intemperate about lots of other things. And then he gives examples like golf, or motorcycle mania, or all your energy goes into clothes. And it could be anything. Bridge clubs, it could be anything that you're going overboard on it, in excess. I think we got the idea about temperance. So justice means more than just what happens in law courts. It's, there's other words that we can think about it that include things like fairness or honesty, give and take, truthfulness, keeping promises, all that sort of thing. He doesn't say much more about justice. So he moves on to fortitude. And this is a very special one because he says it encouraged two different kinds of courage, and one has to do with facing danger with courage, as well as someone else who has the courage to stick to it under perhaps even difficulty or even pain. And then he goes on to say something very important. You cannot really practice the virtues without bringing this one into play, meaning fortitude. So in other words, whichever, it's sort of a help, but to keep going is that perseverance, determination to stick to it, and that helps you with all the other virtues that you're trying to develop in yourself with the help of God. A man who perseveres in doing just actions gets to the end a certain quality of character. And it's that quality, rather than the particular actions, that we mean when we're talking about the word virtue. So if we thought only of actions, we might encourage someone or yourself to have wrong ideas about things, such as it didn't matter how or why you did something, whether you did it willingly or unwillingly, whether you did it sulkingly or cheerfully, or through fear of public opinion, what other people would think of you, or for its own sake? In other words, are you being kind and good to someone else for its own sake, or so that other people will see how kind and good you are towards another person? So he's talking about motives. So the right actions done for the wrong reasons don't really help at all. They don't help you to build character called virtue. So motives is very important in developing virtue. Why are you doing these good things? Because they're good, or for some other reason? We might think God wanted only obedience to a set of rules. You'd be wrong. The point is not that God will refuse you his admission to his eternal world that he's creating if you don't have certain qualities of character. But if people do not at least have the beginnings of those qualities, then there's no possible external conditions that God could make for that person in a place called heaven. It wouldn't make them happy. It's not the kind of happiness God intends for us. So in other words, he's saying that if you're making advances in the virtues, then you're getting closer to that perfection that God is leading you towards, and then you're more conducive towards even wanting and desiring the true heaven and the truth that he has for you.